Greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, Robert Meyer Burnett, and I invite you to watch and listen to the Designing Hollywood podcast, brought to you by Martika Ibarra and the great, legendary Hollywood costume designer, Marilyn Vance. I am afforded the wonderful opportunity of co-hosting the show. If you are interested in the magic of Hollywood, the design of Hollywood, the clothes of Hollywood, watch the Designing Hollywood podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts from, or find the video version on YouTube. That's right, the Designing Hollywood podcast. Why would you ever want to miss it? Especially if you love the movies.
I had a dream.
Hashem told you to dance in a tango contest?
A dancing teacher wants to tango with you?
Critics are raving about Tango Shalom. It's clever and inventive, with right chemistry on and off the dance floor.
You're a lunatic!
A funny and thoughtful family film with a warm heart and a playful spirit. From the director of My Big Fat Greek Wedding.
Oh, that's my Fernando.
Tango Shalom. In select theaters now.
Robservations with Robert Meyer Burnett.
Well, greetings, imagination connoisseurs. Once again, it is I, your Duke of Dope Discourse, your master of fun and wonder, your evangelist of the imagination, and, of course, your existential Mr. Rogers, who is, of course, your Viceroy of Verisimilitude. That's me, Robert Meyer Burnett, and I am Robcasting you imagination connoisseurs, you members of this, the Post-Geek Singularity community. This is Robservations episode number 745, and my God, waiting on pins and needles. So far, I've only seen one review drop, one person I know, Andy Signore, Popcorn Planet, says, holy moly, that might be one of my favorite James Bond movies yet. Thrilling, funny, emotional stakes. No Time to Die is fantastic. Bravo, Daniel Craig and team. I loved it. Review incoming. Will link below soon. I, of course, am a lifelong James. This is the first, obviously, the premiere of No Time to Die is happening right now. It just was finished. The movie is just finished both in London and in Los Angeles, where the first press screenings, they were going on simultaneously. Obviously, Andy Signore got out. I haven't seen anyone else's response yet. Let me take a quick gander. Before I get into this, we shall see if anything new has dropped. I keep looking. It's still pictures, but people are going to come out and we're going to see the first responses for the movie. And obviously, this is a long time coming. It has been very, very delayed. I'm waiting to see anybody who has seen it, but haven't seen anything yet. But they should be coming while we are on. If you want to fire in some opinions, if you see anything on Twitter, I really want to know. Obviously, as a lifelong James Bond fan, this is a big deal. Daniel Craig's last Bond film. The excitement is palpable in the air. I certainly can feel it. People I know are at the press screening or probably just got out of the press screening, and I don't know if they're going to tweet their initial responses. But we are going to have full reviews for the film dropping in the UK in, I believe, an hour. I think the reviews drop at midnight their time. So, at any minute, basically. I would imagine at 4 o'clock we shall see. Very, very exciting. Very exciting. I'm very excited. Well, anyway, of course, the Hollywood Reporter had an article. This is obviously Daniel Craig's James Bond swan song, and he's been around since 2006 with Casino Royale, 15 years. I believe that makes him the longest actor to portray Bond. I mean, if you were to, I guess in terms of years, maybe going from 62 to 83, that was a 21-year period of time. But Never Say Never Again is not really considered an official Bond film. It's outside of the official series, but I mean, you could make that argument that Connery played Bond for that long. But anyway, at least in the official franchise, this is the longest actor who's portrayed Bond, Daniel Craig. Everyone has seemed to like his tenure on Bond. And of course, there's a continuity with his 5 films, and this No Time to Die wraps them up. There's been a lot of talk amongst fan circles that this film's going to be woke. Oh my God, James Bond's going to be neutered. I never thought that, by the way, but never was worried about that. We'll have to see if that's the case or not. I doubt it, because that's not what the franchise is about. I don't even know if it would work that way. Scott Mantz has weighed in. No Time to Die, need more time to process, but I really liked it a lot. Definitely better than Quantum and Spectre. It's Daniel Craig's most grounded and, dare I say it, most intimate take on James Bond, with a powerful, unexpected, and very emotional payoff. Definitely worth the wait. Steve Weintraub says, I think No Time to Die embargo lifts at 4 p.m. Pacific time, so I'm not tweeting until then. Well, okay, Steve, but what's your initial reaction? Come on, buddy. Anyway, I'm looking to see if there's anybody in my feed that has anything left to say. I'm not seeing it right away. So far, Scott Mantz and Andy Signore are the only people that have said anything regarding the film. Let's take a little quick gander for the hashtag No Time to Die. I feel this is kind of fun, seeing these responses live. I guess people won't be talking until after 4 p.m. Still a lot of messages. Terry Stanley says, tagline fittingly is worth the wait. Check out the Heineken ad. Oh, well, that doesn't really say anything. Still, well, whatever. We'll know in an hour. So we'll be getting, when we get off this live stream, we'll have more responses. I'm, obviously very keen to find out. The first 2 responses, again, from Scott Mantz and Andy Signore, were very promising. Can't wait to hear what real Bond fans have to say. Not that they're not real Bond fans, but, I don't trust anybody. So anyway, in the Hollywood Reporter today, there was an interesting article sort of going over this whole situation, where we're at. It's the top story, headline story. Alex Rittman and George George Salai. I'm sorry if I'm getting your name wrong. No Time to Die has finally arrived. There's Daniel Craig looking dapper. I mean, this suit he was wearing at the premiere is excellent. After much fanfare, a change in director, a rewrite, several well-documented release delays, and a major global pandemic, the world's premiere for the 25th James Bond film kicked off tonight at London's famed Royal Albert Hall, just shy of 6 years since the last 007 installment, Spectre, was given the same treatment. This is amazing, Daniel Craig said on the red carpet stage for his final Bond outing. I really genuinely didn't think we'd get here, but we are. I can't wait to celebrate with everyone. Joining Craig on the red carpet were co-stars Rami Malek, Leah Seydoux, Lashana Lynch, Ana de Armas, Ben Whishaw, and Naomi Harris, director Cary Joji Fukunaga, and musician Billie Eilish, whose title song, No Time to Die, has already won a Grammy. I'm very proud of it, Craig said about the 25th Bond film. We don't make it for ourselves, we make it for people to see in the cinema, and we're going to watch it on a huge screen this evening, which is exactly where Bond movies should be. Adding a decent splash of royalty to the A-list mix was Prince William, Kate Middleton, Prince Charles, and Camilla Parker Bowles among the guests, alongside top brass of MGM, Universal, and Eon Productions, including Bond gatekeepers Barbara Broccoli and Michael G. Wilson. Tuesday's world premiere, the biggest premiere in the UK in several years, and definitely since the start of the coronavirus pandemic, required all guests to show negative COVID-19 tests before entering the venue and were strongly encouraged to wear masks throughout, per the official invite. When asked about her Bond experience, Lynch said when she auditioned for her character, Nomi, she initially didn't know if it was for a Bond role. When I learned that she was a 00 agent and that she had agency in her voice and what we want to see on screen as black women, I thought, I'm so glad I got to read this script, she recalled. I'm so glad this is me, and I get to have these conversations with people who will carry the franchise into a new era. And the noise around No Time to Die was unlike any world premiere in recent memory, not simply because of the popularity of the famous film franchise, but also due to the unprecedented levels of turbulence the film has faced, including no less than 5 delays in a release date that many thought might never arrive. As one Twitter fan noted, I have fear that halfway through No Time to Die, someone's going to walk into the cinema screen, turn it off, and announce it's been delayed again, adding that they won't be able to relax until the credits roll. There's our principals looking dapper on the red carpet. First, the film was struck with a major switch at the helm. Danny Boyle, who had originally been attached to direct, left with writer John Hodge due to creative differences in August 2018. Fukunaga came on board a month later, with principal photography taking place from April to October 2019 and a release scheduled for April 2020. Then COVID-19 hit when MGM and Eon announced on March 4th, with a marketing blitz already in full swing, that No Time to Die was being postponed until November 2020. It became the first of many major tentpoles to be impacted by the pandemic. It would face 2 further delays, effectively becoming the face of the cinema industry's battle against a pandemic, impacted box office, and prompted something of a domino effect, with other films delaying their release dates. After its second postponement on October 2020, pushing their release to April 2021, a date that would move again in February, UK cinema giant Cineworld chose to close its theaters indefinitely, its CEO describing the No Time to Die delay as the final straw. With Tuesday's release, much of the industry, particularly in the exhibition world, is no doubt breathing a collective sigh of relief. Craig said on the red carpet that the theater is exactly where a Bond film should be seen, and praised the cast and the director. We're so lucky to get him, he said. The cast on this film is just stupendous, and Carrie came along and I think has hit it out of the park. Lynch also lauded screenwriter Phoebe Waller-Bridge for her work on the film and her character, Nomi. I wanted audiences, young black girls, and just people around the world to really explore what the strength of a black woman is, she said. Asked if the role had changed her, she replied, "The amount of confidence that I have, I feel, and I stand different. I move different." Lynch also praised Craig for shifting Bond into an era that makes sense for me as a young Londoner, and said he is one of a kind and integral to the fabric of the franchise. Boy, this looks like a great premiere. Sadu also thanked Waller-Bridge for her contributions to the film and said that her own character will show more complexity and vulnerability. Sadu described Craig's take on Bond as that of a feminist, saying the recent films with him in the role have included more interesting female characters. Questioned about Craig ending his Bond run, the star noted how Casino Royale was the first film in the franchise that she saw in the theater. "For me, he is the best because he is the James Bond of my generation. He made him so complex and human, and I love also the fact that he is not perfect." Broccoli added, "He exemplifies the hero, but also has brought a lot of humanity to the role." All of this sounds great to me. I am extremely excited about this movie. We'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, I'm dying. I'm dying right now that I can't sit here and scour Twitter. There's seldom times when I want to scour Twitter and find out what the answers are. But I think probably a lot of people are waiting until 4 o'clock to say anything. But anyway, I'm telling you, the hashtag No Time to Die certainly has a lot of great photos on it right now, so check it out if you are interested. Now, my thing about James Bond is I've been watching James Bond the same way I've been watching Star Trek since I was a little kid. And the Bond franchise has always been there for me. I've always looked at it as both aspirational. Well, really, one of the things I loved about James Bond, it wasn't just the action and the gadgets and the girls, but it was the intelligence that Bond had. Like, he could walk into a room and he knew the perfect temperature to serve champagne at. He knew which caviar was the best. Orchidea Negro, when he talked about the black orchid in Moonraker, he knew exactly what it was and how deadly it was. And, he just knew everything. And I was like, I want to be that guy. And why can't I be that guy? So the Bond franchise has been very hit and miss. I mean, Dr. No seems like it was made from a different era. From Russia with Love is very close to Ian Fleming's books. Goldfinger was the first sort of epic Bond. Then, of course, it blew the doors off in Thunderball. You Only Live Twice. And then when Sean Connery left that role, then we had On Her Majesty's Secret Service, which I love that film. Then, of course, there's Diamonds Are Forever, which perhaps the less said, the better. Roger Moore took over in 1973 with Live and Let Die, and a year later in Man with the Golden Gun in 74. They were great. They weren't even widescreen movies. 77 saw a return to form with The Spy Who Loved Me, which is the first Bond movie I saw in the theater, and I'm like, wow, I've been watching Bond on television, then to see a giant widescreen Bond movie in the theater, it was like, wow. And then, of course, Bond's been with me ever since. So I've always loved the Bond franchise, even when Bond movies are not good. Diamonds Are Forever is not good. Mouth Golden Gun's not very good. I'm a Moonraker apologist. I love Moonraker. The modern era, the Bond films have become more of a action franchise. There's always been good Bond films during that time, and they've always sort of delivered. They've always been diverting entertainments. Have they been great movies? I think Casino Royale is truly a great film. I think GoldenEye is a very good film. There's not enough Bond in it though, but I just love the franchise. Even when it's not so good, I still love the franchise. Die Another Day, probably one of the worst films of the modern Bond era, but still, I'm a huge Bond fanatic. And to say that I had my tickets in April of 2020 in the Cinerama Dome, my favorite theater, to see a Bond movie in my favorite seats. Literally, I had my two favorite seats. So excited, pandemic hit, no more Bond. And now I've got tickets, great seats for the Chinese theater. I cannot wait. Very, very, very excited. And I can't wait to see this movie. I'm expecting great things. I really like Cary Fukunaga's work. I really love True Detective Season 1, which he, of course, directed all of. So I think that we're going to get something quite spectacular, and I'm very, very excited. I, of course, can't see it till next Wednesday. I have tickets to go to the fan event here in the Chinese, so I can't wait for that in IMAX. Very excited. I mean, I unlike some people, I don't get invited to. I'm not a critic. I'm not a reviewer, so I'm not on lists of. I mean, I do criticism and reviews, but that is not my bread and butter. I'm not an officially recognized pundit as far as reviews go. So actually, I can say whatever I want when I want because I don't need to curry favor with the studios. So I wouldn't care. I wouldn't do a full review because I respect being on John's channel and other channels. I do respect the fact that, if they ask if there's an embargo, they're waiting. I mean, I think they're trying to coordinate. The reason it's 4:00 here is because that's midnight in the UK, and that's when the reviews are allowed. So many of the outlets here in the States are not going to say anything officially until after the embargo lifts, which is at 4 p.m. here, midnight London time. So anyway, looking forward to that, and I am very, very excited about this movie. I cannot wait. So, for me, it's very exciting. It's like being a kid again. Every Sunday night when the ABC Sunday Night Movie would show a Bond film, and I had to beg my parents to stay up past my bedtime because I always played past my bedtime. Yeah, I'm very excited. Waiting for these reviews to come in. It's like a kid. I don't need spoilers, but I just want to know that it's good. So hopefully there's more of that. Yeah, we shall see. Who knows? Anyway, not much I have to say today. Other than that, I'm going to jump right into. Let's see. Enterprise HNCC 1701H says, Glorious Gatekeeper, greetings. First you said that the bird of prey in Star Trek 3 was a violation of canon. Given FASA's explanation, I would say that it did not become a violation of canon until Enterprise cemented it as a Klingon design. For those of you at home who don't know, in FASA, the bird of prey was a collaborative effort during the same time that the Klingons gave the Romulans some of their D7s. Yeah, I've heard that. I think that could be a great. I could buy that. I could buy into that, but it's not canonical. Secondly, the last time I brought up the lack of memorable landmarks on Cardassia, there is a large building in the background, but I don't know what that's supposed to be. It could be as simple as not knowing the name for something, but I don't think that's the whole story. I have added an image attachment to this communique. I would say that even if you did not know what it was meant to be, you would still remember it because for the longest time, I did not know what this was. It is from the expanded universe. Well, again, yeah, that I saw your picture, but it's not it's that's the problem. It's from the expanded universe. But, you know, that's what we always say. Is the expanded universe canonical? You know, I like the idea that there might be a Klingon bird of prey, but I still think that would the Klingons call it that? I don't know. It's always tough. Do we want to deal with games or things like that? I don't know, but not a bad thing. So anyway, this next one comes from Dinmon. Dinmon writes in, hello, Rob, and if this gets published or aired, then hello to the PGS. I'm a longtime viewer, first-time writer, seventh-time thinker of writing. First, allow me to congratulate you on your latest achievement in Tango Shalom. Oh, thank you. I was excited for you when I heard about every development from winning awards to being picked up by a distributor and having screenings around the world despite never meeting or talking to you. I guess that's a testimony for your online persona. May you know many more successes such as this and even bigger ones. Well, I hope so. I'm writing to you a couple of hours after binging the new Star Wars Visions series. Of course, with only 9 episodes and a mere 10 to 15 minutes per episode, 12 to 17 including OP and ED credits, it's not any more time-consuming than watching a movie, but it does lead me to my main problem with the series. It's the runtime. I know, you're supposed to start with a joke or something positive, but sometimes that's just how the cookie crumbles. Or in this case, the Wookie crumbles. There's your joke. Since Visions is an anthology series, there are only 10 minutes to introduce the characters, the planet, the conflict, and on top of that make us care about any of them, something that usually takes 2.5 times that to achieve, and according to many wasn't achieved even with the entire trilogy dedicated to the new Star Wars cast. Despite that, Visions managed to produce some gems. With Episode 1, The Duel, a true return to form with a tightly told samurai tale. Episode 4, The Village Bride, which I really liked. A rebellious snack instead of the 3-course meal that we usually get with Star Wars Rebel Forces. Episode 7, The Elder, a suspenseful story about a Jedi and his Padawan encountering an unexpected darkness. Episode 9, Akakiri. Did you ever hear the story of Darth Masago the Wise? I thought not. It's not a story the woke crowd would tell you. Honorable mentions go to Episode 5, The Ninth Jedi, and Episode 8, La Pinocho, that feel more like a pitch for a standalone miniseries exploring the themes of the family you choose and a classic search for hope in the galaxy, respectively. With twists that you can see a mile away, but seeing the destination doesn't always make the journey less enjoyable. What does make the journey less enjoyable is the rushed feeling most of these episodes have. With so much to see and so many sites to visit in so little time, it really feels like you're trying to speed run a cross-country trip with each stop being treated with a, okay, we're here, get out, breathe the air, take a picture, and no trailing behind, get into the car, off we go, attitude. Or as if you're a contestant in the Amazing Race traveling to all of these fantastic locations, but with seemingly no time to appreciate any of them because there are missions to complete and places to sprint to. Perhaps the biggest offender of this breakneck-paced storytelling is Episode 6, TOB1. What if Astro Boy was created on Tatooine and directed by a squirrel who forgot to take its ADHD medicine? This episode had everything. Adventure, action, heart, hope, Jedi, Sith, droids, death, and rebirth. You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll be confused, you'll laugh again, you'll cheer, but mostly the confused part, and all in the span of 10 minutes. No, this is not the results of bipolar disorder. This is what happens when you condense an entire season's worth of character development and storytelling into half an episode. While TOB1 was probably never going to be for me, it could have been for someone. It could have been a great kid's show if it had a little more time to breathe and develop. Instead, we get a series of tone-deaf reactions wrapped in a roller coaster of a plot. So far, we've been through the good and the bad, and now it's time for the ugly. However, there isn't really anything ugly about the show. The episodes are animated by respectable studios with at least 1 or 2 notable works to their credit. Even the worst-looking ones could be described as having a unique style, or at the worst, polar opposite, a generic style. Instead, let's look at the beautiful. Episode 3, The Twins, is a story about, well, twins. It's an interesting take on what I think is supposed to be an attempt to create an artificial forced dyad, or at least it could have been interesting if it had anything to actually tell. But what it lacks in substance, it makes up for in spectacular visuals. Studio Trigger does what they do best. Bless our eyeballs with some of the most spectacular and dynamic sakuga, the anime term for animation, there is. Combined with that clean, characteristic Trigger art style, this is what I expected to see in a Star Wars anime, complete with space explosions that defy physics and lightsabers coming out of every part of the body, save for the ones where both suns don't shine, fully animated rotating shots with impossible angles and even more impossible foreshortening. This was a true Technicolor triumph. But while a feast for your eyes, my ears had a mixed reaction to Visions. Despite having a star-studded cast with the likes of Joseph Gordon-Levitt, Bobby Moynihan, David Harbour, Masai Oka, Simu Liu, and many others, Visions had a painfully amateur-feeling voice acting, with the worst offender going this time to Alison Brie and Neil Patrick Harris as the aforementioned twins, with a performance that sounded like it was taken straight from a 90s ADV dub. Further cementing that is a field best left to pros such as Steve Blum, Crispin Freeman, and Tara Strong. It's not all bad, though, as George Takei, Karen Fukuhara, Henry Golding, Jamie Chung, and Lucy Liu, the clearly superior Liu, all gave a very solid performance, with James Hing doing an exceptional job bringing the unnerving elder to life. In conclusion, while I had high expectations that left me disappointed, it didn't leave me displeased. Visions managed to provide a fresh take on the Star Wars universe and expand on familiar concepts while introducing new ones. Some may say that the series clashes with the existing tones and aesthetics established so far, and that to those people I say, how small is the universe you live in? If you can think of a style and tone, then you can find a corner of the universe where they exist, and a story they apply to. It's perfectly acceptable to reduce the mainline movies to that, but there's no reason to believe that the Star Wars universe as a whole should be so strict and monotone. That's just the Empire talking out of your throat. So far, the space epic franchise has felt ironically small, and Visions managed to make it that much bigger, and managed to make me one step closer to being a fan. Oh yeah, did I mention that I'm not a Star Wars fan? Must have slipped my mind. Excuse me, Misa could be so forgetty. These were my concise thoughts about Star Wars Visions. Not exactly a full and rounded review, since I'm trying to stay within the scope of a letter, a scope I might have already broken through, but just like Visions, I tried to give you a little taste of everything, leaving nothing out. Those of you who counted might have noticed I left out Episode 2, Tatooine Rhapsody, filler story about a failed Padawan that crossed ways with Boba Fett's latest bounty. That's because this is all it was. Nothing. Just a short, original video animation that felt like it should have been added as a bonus short in a DVD special or released on the Star Wars YouTube channel. Oh well, I guess I couldn't leave nothing out after all. I'm curious, what did you think about Visions? Did you watch it? Are you planning to? What are your expectations and what do you hope to see? All the best and do your best. Genbaru. Dinmon the above average. Well, Dinmon, let me say, I watched Visions, and while I too thought it was a mixed bag, and I of course like the duel, and I love my samurai, and I love my Kurosawa, I enjoyed it. You know, did it break any new ground? Not much, but I really did enjoy the different visions. I kind of liked the bite-sized quality of it all. But what I mostly liked is what you brought up. A different look at the Star Wars universe. Even Tatooine Rhapsody, I enjoyed what it was. You know, the idea that there's a guy hiding in a rock band, a youngling that wasn't slaughtered, that managed to escape, that ran away and joined a rock band that's now sponsored by Jabba the Hutt out on the circuit playing clubs or spaceports or whatever. And I you know, even that, I was like, it's a trifle. Does it mean anything? No. But what I liked was the idea behind it. You know, and I enjoyed Visions. I thought it was fun. And as far as it goes, I got exactly what I expected to get out of it, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the different animation styles. I mean, now, I've always liked anime, I've always liked animation, and now having worked on an animated series in Dota Dragon's Blood, and watch animation develop, I'm certainly much more appreciative of it, even though I worked on a lot of Disney special features back in the day. I enjoyed it. You know, is it going to change anyone's life? Probably not, but I thought it was an interesting experiment, and it really showed where Disney could take the franchise. So, I liked it. I thought it was pretty good. I certainly enjoyed it. Let's see. Our friend Joe Dick comes back. Joe Dick writing a lot of letters. Touch me, I'm Dick. That's a reference to the movie Singles, if you know that film. Joe Dick says, "Hi, Rob. You're probably right. Star Trek will never bring back Shatner as Kirk. They have no interest doing that even if Shatner did, and there's no reason to think he does. It can't be age. Clint Eastwood just made Cry Macho at 91. I don't know if it's any good, but he made it. Shatner seems to be in pretty good shape for 90, mentally and physically. It's too bad they won't bring him back. The other day I rewatched Generations. I'd forgotten how stupid it was, but especially stupid is Kirk's death. People thought Han Solo went out like a bitch, but Kirk's death was worse. In 1994 at 63, he still had what it takes. At 90, I think so. Two ways to do it. Either a stuntman and some deep fake, or just say, yeah, he's old, and have him play it as an old Kirk who can't run around much, and now his karate chops are that slow because he's just super old. Happens to everyone. But he'd still have the Kirk brain. That's the important part. Just have him sitting down most of the time. In TNG, Picard wouldn't go on away missions because he was too valuable. You'd think the first officer would be a little too important as well, not to mention Data, Worf, Geordi, Crusher, Counselor Troy, and sometimes probably all at once. I guess you can risk virtually the entire senior staff, but not the captain? So anyway, Kirk not going on away missions would make sense for the character at his age, although a 90-year-old of today could probably play 120 or so in the 24th century. Shatner has taken some heat over the years for things he's said or done, but I still like him. And even if I didn't like him, even if he's a douchey douche, who cares? I can separate the artist from the man. You've met him, of course, Rob. He's a good dude, right? I mean, I know he's from Montreal, but they're not all bad. Well, they'll never do anything with him again. He might not toe the line, for one thing, and they did leave him out of Star Trek Day, so it might be pointless to speculate. But I'm interested in your take on this and that of the PGS. Joe Dick. P.S. Hopefully you weren't offended by the comment about flaking on us. I know the canceled or delayed shows are due to work commitments. I don't think you ever blew off a show just to go to the movies like some people. Well, I appreciate that. No, look, if I was going to blow off a show to go to the movies, I would tell you that. I'd be like, I can't do a show today. I'm going to see No Time to Die. By the way, let's check in. Let's see if there's anything, if anyone's added any No Time to Die. I know you guys are like, why do you care? Just wait till you get off the live stream, because I can't wait, because I have no patience. Wow, there's nothing on the official feed because it's all full of promo premiere people, which is fine. Maybe people on my regular feed. Drew McWeeny says, oh boy. I don't know if that means he saw it. I don't know. Dahlia the Turk says, I'm seeing some initial reactions to No Time to Die, and I'm happy about the seemingly positive reactions, although I think Quantum of Solace is much better than Skyfall, so I don't know if we'll agree on this one or not. Interesting. I am not a Skyfall fan, so as many people will say, wait, what? We shall see. I don't know. Nothing. Don't see anything. I'm not seeing any more. A lot of people don't like the fact that Daniel Craig is wearing like a pink jacket. Oh, Alicia Grauso says, I will say this for Bond movies. Nobody does car chases like 007. Nobody. Breathtaking action. Daniel Craig is magnetic. I really enjoyed this one, though it does concern itself more with being a rightfully earned goodbye for Craig than telling a tight story. That's interesting. Nathaniel Braille says, No Time to Die was worth the wait. Daniel Craig is fantastic in his final mission. I'm floored by the ending. Wow. Janelle Riley says, No Time to Die is great, but like all movies, could use more Ana de Armas. Well, I feel my life's that way. We shall see. Well, that's some. So we'll get more, I'm sure, in, 20 more minutes. Well, let's get back to Joe Dick's letter. Look, to me, canonically, Kirk's dead. I don't think that there's any reason to bring back William Shatner. And at 90, I think Shatner could probably do it. But it's been since 1994 that he played Kirk in Generations, where he canonically came to an end. And I just, while it might be cool to see Kirk again, would it be? You know, I just think it maybe is better if we don't see him. I mean, I'm not a fan of Generations at all. I think the movie's completely nonsensical, and I've never liked it. And when I saw it, I'll tell you one of the funniest things. I saw it with my Free Enterprise cohort, Mark Altman, and I had to like calm him down. He was so angry at the end of Generations, and he'd covered The Next Generation for Cinefantastique magazine. When we left the theater, we were on the Paramount lot, so it was a star-studded event. We were seeing it. There was a lot of people that worked on the movie there, and Mark was like apoplectic. I thought he was going to like have a brain aneurysm. He was so angry. And I was like, dude, we got to calm down. Let's just get out of the theater lobby before. I hated it too, but come on, man. We're on the Paramount lot. You got to keep it together, buddy. It was pretty rough. Pretty rough. And I just thought, I mean, as much as I love Star Trek, Next Generation, I liked. And of course, I love Deep Space Nine. And Voyager was a bit hit and miss, because I always thought that Voyager was a copy of a copy of a copy. But there's a lot of great stuff in Voyager. It is rather hit and miss. And it does seem like it was a show that was made out of Star Trek tropes. The premise was really interesting. Forget the Maquis Federation thing, because that made no sense. Once you leave, I mean, if you have a border dispute, which is what the Maquis really was all about, they had their lands annexed, their planets annexed, and they were like left without. It wasn't their fault. They were the Federation let them down. I totally understand where their Maquis were coming from, but once you move out of the Alpha quadrant or the Beta quadrant, and you're across the galaxy in the Delta quadrant, what does the Maquis matter? You know, your issue is not with individual people. Your issue is Starfleet policy. So once you're on the ship, what I would like to see out of Voyager is that they were never going to get home. It was too far away, and that they were going to have to build a Federation beachhead in the Delta Quadrant and try and tame a new world, so to speak. And it could have been really, really interesting. Instead, I thought Voyager suffered from the phage and the Kazon. It was kind of weak. I would love to have seen a much more complex geopolitical or galactical political interplay happen. And I just think it didn't go down. And they tried to do that sort of, and then the Borg were neutered. But there's still a lot of really great, like Blink of an Eye is one of my favorite Star Trek episodes ever. I love the idea behind it. I love Living Witness, which is, an off-brand episode, but still pretty great. But yeah, Star Trek got a little weird. And I think really what it needed more science fiction writers, hard science fiction writers. Like, I would have picked a few people. I don't know if they'd come work on it. Like, I don't know. I look at my bookshelf, Peter Hamilton, Stephen Baxter. I would have put together a group, a consortium of science fiction writers to come up with ideas. And I understand that's not how television works, because it's not how the WGA works, but I still would have done it. I would have created a think tank of bring in a bunch of science fiction writers and come up with premises for shows. That's when I think I think the real problem with Star Trek Discovery has been it's so far removed from actual science fiction that the storylines are all fantastical because the people were writing fantasy. So the people that are previous, Michelle Paradise, what the fuck does she know about science fiction? I mean, seriously, what does she read speculative fiction? I don't know. But bringing Kirk back, I don't think it's a good idea. Kirk died in Generations. I have no problem leaving that there, and that's how James Kirk met his demise. And look, an easy fix would be to say it was his echo that came out of the Nexus, that the actual Kirk is still in the Nexus somewhere and he's been aging, or something, or maybe he left somewhere else and we saw his echo die. I mean, there's an easy fix around that. I don't know, but is it something? Do we need to do it? I don't know. I don't know, Joe. I don't know if we necessarily have to do that. I don't know if it's very much a good thing or not. This one comes from Chicken Powder. chicken powder. Hi, Rob. I recently watched Manifest Episode 1 with my wife based on your recommendation, and wow, what a great premise and intro to a show. After a few episodes, though, my wife and I started to ask the same question repeatedly, and that was, what the actual fuck is happening? Well, you've come to where I'm at. I feel that way every episode. Some spoilers some spoilers for the show below. Let's start with all the different powers or callings these 828 passengers are experiencing. They're also bloody random and inconsistent. That's right. They all seem to be able to hear voices that tell them to do something to help someone. Okay, that's fine, I guess. Then for whatever reason, another character can see path lights in a dark cave which lead a group out of danger, but they never experience that kind of power again. Okay, whatever. Then the youngest character of the show can apparently see the future through his calling and sends him to a cabin where he meets a guy that died in a cave but somehow came back from the dead after a year. What? Why? How is this related to the plane? And thank fuck the kid can draw, because if that was me, nobody would be able to interpret stick figures or identify buildings with the squares and triangles that I'd have drawn. Then the next episode shows a thief driving his van into a river and was stuck there for 3 days, but somehow froze in time or whatever the fuck and didn't die, but dies anyway after 3 days, which brings us to the death date plot point. What the fuck? I get why you love to hate and watch this, Rob, because the show is interesting even with all the plot holes and inconsistencies. It makes you want to find out why any of this and how it's happening and why it's happening and where the show will eventually go. Maybe all those questions will be answered in the next 3 seasons, but I've just started season 2 and now they've introduced callings through genetics, or sperm callings, as I prefer to call them, and I'm not hopeful at all that we will get some satisfactory answers. This could well be just another Lost. Regardless, I will keep watching to see how this ends, and I can't wait for season 4 to come out. Thanks for reading and take care, Rob. Regards, Chicken Powder. Well, you and your wife get it. The show is gobbledygook. And normally I would just give up on it, but it's so ridiculous. And I just, again, here's a lot of the problem I have with modern, I mean, I consider Manifest now, it's a Netflix series, but a lot of network TV is I feel that many of the people that write modern network television only ever watched television. You know, they didn't read. Or they didn't read a lot. And so when it comes to especially the fantastical, you know, I don't think the people at Manifest ever stop to think, okay, wait a minute. If you are having psychic callings, like you've been targeted and you're being given psychic insight or some kind of insight into someone and their problems, that means that there is some kind of an intelligence somewhere, even if it's God, angels, whatever, that the angels have identified the person that needs help as someone you don't even know. I mean, imagine if you don't even know who they are, this higher power or whatever. Maybe it's people from the future that are manipulating the time stream. Who knows? There's an intelligence out there that's identified this person and then identified you and somehow beamed the callings into your brain. I mean, it is the most ludicrous idea ever. Now, maybe if you wanted to put some kind of a scientific explanation behind it, I could sit there and go, okay, well, maybe the future 1,000 years from now is contingent upon these things that whoever's manipulating the timeline is making sure that good things happen in the future. So they're manipulating everybody through the callings or whatever, like the dreams that were beamed back to you from 1999 to 1987 in John Carpenter's Prince of Darkness, or some shit like that. But you know that's not true, because none of it, like you said, is consistent. It's just a bunch of gobbledygook. And the reason that I tune in to watch is I want to know how ridiculously stupid is this show going to be. Now, I love the actors. I love the characters because, my God, do they have conviction. And, I mean, if you want to introduce that the hot Indian woman is actually in a same-sex relationship she can't get over, hey, they'll do it. Because why not? You know, if you want to just have somebody who randomly shows up in a cave and also traveled through time for a year, which absolutely, like you pointed out, has nothing to do with anything that happened to the plane, why not? As a matter of fact, why not just bring back a French Foreign Legion from 100 years ago? Like, why? Why not? I mean, if that happened in the show, it wouldn't surprise me. But that's why I watch Manifest, because I usually watch it slack-jawed, wondering, how the hell is this happening? And I don't necessarily think it's a good thing, but I find it more entertaining than the average episode of Star Trek Discovery, and certainly more entertaining than Picard. Because as full of gobbledygook as Manifest is, it's not as full of nonsensical gobbledygook as Star Trek Picard is. So at least I can enjoy Manifest from a certain point of view. But I'm glad you figured out why I love this ridiculous show, and you're taking it in the spirit it's intended. Chicken powder, it warms my heart. So you give your wife a kiss for me, and you say that I'm glad you're part of the Manifest team. So hell yeah, that's what I'm talking about. 'Cause why not? Why shouldn't you be? This comes from Rhett Proctor. Rhett Proctor says, "Hey Rob, this is going to be a long one, and this is my first time writing in, and it infuriates me to no end that Akiva Goldsman has made me lose interest in DC Comics. I will still see the Flash movie next year, and no wonder why Marvel Studios is ahead. There's no plan at all, and if I'm being honest, I've always been more of a Marvel fan since I watched these Spider-Man and X-Men cartoons from the 90s. Reruns, of course. I was old enough to watch them when Spider-Man Unlimited started, but Titans is the most poorly written show on the planet. And this is coming from a fan. They hype you up saying this season's all about the Red Hood, but Scarecrow is the main villain, and you reusing a plot point from an almost 20-year-old movie in Batman Begins. I think that the Red Hood should get his own show, and then you should move all the Batmen to that show and go as nuts as you want. Because I thought that a Titan show is supposed to be about the Teen Titans, not the Bat family. My opinion is, Rob, that the show Titans has terrible writing, but pretty good acting if you count Brenton Thwaites as Nightwing, and I think he also played Henry Turner in Pirates of the Caribbean 5, if I'm not mistaken. Curran Walters does a good job as Jason Todd Red Hood. People complain he's too short. Well, here's a fun fact for the people of the internet. Michael Keaton is 5'9", and he played Batman. But anyway, how has the show been going on for 3 seasons? Because I know it will get renewed probably and have a 4th season. Now I know why I like Marvel better. It'll be good as long as Bob Chapek doesn't interfere in the future like he did with the Black Widow. Thanks, Rob, and I hope you have a great day." Well, Rhett Proctor, thank you for writing in. Yeah, man. Here's what's unfortunate to me about the thinking in television these days. As a fan of the new Teen Titans, as created by George Perez and, of course, writer Marv Wolfman, if I was doing a Titans TV show, I would say I would like to make the Friday Night Lights of superhero shows, and that's what Titans would be. Now, is it going to be about football? No. But I felt when I was reading Titans as a kid that there was heart there. It was always about family. Donna Troy had her fiance. Dick and Coriander were in love. You know, Gar was always trying to hit on somebody or whatever. You know, it was a very human group of heroes. Now you can still do all the superheroics, but if you could get that show to have the feels, you know, the feels of what Friday Night Lights did. I mean, Friday Night Lights, I'm not the biggest football fan in the world. I love my Jedi Knights of the Pacific Northwest, but I don't follow football religiously. I enjoy the game. But Friday Night Lights was not necessarily, football was a great conduit to show people as an indicator of success or failure. And I loved it for that. I've always loved sports movies and TV shows. I've always, even though I'm not the biggest, I don't follow sports, but I do like sports and I love it. I've always loved it as a metaphor for storytelling. And Friday Night Lights is one of my most favorite TV shows of all time. And I would look to the if I want to make a Titan show, I'd be like, I'm going to do the Friday Night Lights of superhero shows with the Titans. They obviously didn't do that, but that's what I would do if somebody asks me, or nobody ever would, but if they did, why not? I think that could be kind of interesting. Here's a letter from our friend Omar94. I've got a backup of like 20. I could do a show of just Omar94 letters. Omar writes in, says, "Hi, Rob, moderators in the Post-Geek Singularity. Since you often go on about your dislike about the direction Star Trek has gone, I started thinking about how certain fans react to something they don't like. It's pretty obvious to tell it's become worse with the way some people express their dislike for a movie, a TV show, or something like that. I understand if someone doesn't like a certain movie, TV show, or anything like that, but I think some people go too far extreme with their dislike. For example, some people said stuff like George Lucas raped my childhood when it came to the Star Wars prequel because they didn't like it. I remember when I first saw that, I knew to myself that was being ridiculous. It's stuff like that which makes everyone see how fandom from certain people has become worse than when it comes to expressing dislike towards some type of entertainment. Thanks, and live long and prosper." Listen, I agree with you, Omar. I think people are prone to hyperbole, and I think saying stuff like that is tasteless. But here's another thing. I also don't get my knickers in a bunch when someone makes those kinds of hyperbolic statements. I also understand it's meant to be shocking and rude and convey discontent. I think you know, there are people, if you've ever suffered such a horrible crime against your person, I get it. It's offensive and disgusting that somebody would do that. It's a stupid thing to say. And also, I mean, people are just trying to, again, I don't think that anybody who says something like that really has considered the fact that they might be sounding or coming off very offensive to someone. If you've known anyone who's suffered that kind of horrific violence perpetrated on them, you never want to make light of it. But, you know, to me, it's hyperbolic. People are insensitive douchebags, and I understand that. But I agree. I mean, look, the real thing that I think has to be remembered is that these kinds of stories, as stories have always been, we just happen to have stories like Star Wars and the Marvel Universe and Star Trek and all the things, they've meant something to people for such a long period of time. You know, we grew up, I started watching Star Trek when I was 5, and I'm still a half century later watching this Star Trek. And it's been a storytelling vehicle that I've enjoyed my whole life, and it means something to me. It means something to me more than it's ever going to mean to the people that are working on Star Trek now. And I understand that, because I don't expect everyone's experience of the world to be the same thing it is for me. It'll never be that way. And I get that. And nowadays, see, the thing is, Star Trek is so far removed from itself, like everything else. I mean, the people that are working on Star Trek today, most of them weren't even born when Star Trek debuted. They didn't even watch it as kids. They're younger writers or younger people. They don't even have an attachment to it. Don't tell me that Michelle Paradise watched Star Trek in syndication every night at 6 o'clock. She might have watched Next Generation or something. But even then, it was still not... Star Trek The Next Generation existed in a world where the original series already existed. So it's a whole different thing. But people have internalized these stories their whole lives. How many times or how many things can you say that about? I mean, I've had Star Trek with me my whole life almost. And when I see it, well, done badly, I wonder, first of all, why are people custodians of the franchise that are doing it badly? Why is it that I'm more excited for a Star Trek novel that comes out today than I have been about anything that's made from Star Trek officially since 2009? Actually, the last Star Trek that I felt satisfied by was some of the 4th season of Enterprise, which I really enjoyed. Demons in Terra Prime, for instance. Or In a Mirror Darkly, which was is it Through a Mirror Darkly? In a Mirror Darkly? Or the 3-part Vulcan episodes, beginning with The Forge. That was the last time I actually really enjoyed Star Trek. I felt Star Trek was at all satisfying. And again, Enterprise was a show that was hit and miss. And it bothers me. It bothers me that the people that are making Star Trek, every time I watch a bad episode of Star Trek, and look, I know people like Lower Decks. Well, Lower Decks is becoming better. Lower Decks, to me, from the get-go, from its conception, is fine. I was never going to care about it because the animated show, a comedy, a workplace comedy, was never something I was interested in seeing in Star Trek. But now it's here. I'm like, okay, I can see people enjoy it. But I think that Star Trek is so far moved out of its where it was that I'm not interested in it anymore. And it's interesting. I think there's Star Trek drift happening, and it's a bummer. Do not like it. Do not like it at all. Which really kind of bums me out. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? You just have to live with it, I guess. Let's see if we can see anything else. I'm so wanting to know if there's any. It is minutes away from the reviews dropping, and I really want to see who gets their first review out. Not seeing anything. Oh, Eric Davis says, so No Time to Die is awesome. Classic Bond, classic villain, classic gadgets, and a story that seems to question how much we still need James Bond to save the day. Terrific writing and stunning direction from Cary Joji Fukunaga. I loved every second. A perfect finale for Daniel Craig. Well, that's pretty good. I'd say that's a pretty resounding review. We shall see. Nope, don't see anything. Awards Daily. This is interesting. Awards Daily says, I think Daniel Craig is probably the best Bond, or he's right up. This is Sasha Stone. Or he's right up there with Sean Connery. Unfortunately, like Black Widow, it is too serious for what I was expecting or hoping for. If you know that going in, it is probably more enjoyable. See, I take it seriously. I take Bond seriously. Jacqueline says, the absolute perfect way to bid farewell to Daniel Craig's time is 007. No Time to Die throws back to every element that made his introduction in Casino Royale so iconic. A perfect blend of old and new. Buckle up, y'all. This is good as Bond can get. Dwayne Miller, Cinemaniac 94, says, No Time to Die was absolutely brilliant. One of my favorite Bond films to date. Daniel Craig was great as always, but I gotta give praise to Lashana Lynch as the first black female 007. Completely stole the show. The best action of the year and a satisfying ending. I loved it. Well, that's cool. So that's good. Well, Scott Mendelson says everything that has a beginning has an ending. So we'll see. 2 minutes till the first reviews drop. Can't wait to read one. Let's read a super chat from you guys. There's a few from yesterday that I didn't get. Fernando Barrero, thank you, Fernando. I've got your clip right here. I can put my glass on it, though I can't. That doesn't fit in there. Only you can with. Thank you very much, Fernando. Fernando says, hi, R&B. Glad you liked the cup holder. Did you like the t-shirts? I did. My mom says hello and wants to know why more cinemas aren't showing Tango Shalom. Well, hopefully they will. It's a very small indie release, and we've been in theaters 4 weeks now, and hopefully we're opening in some more theaters. But again, it's on a theater-by-theater basis, and we have no advertising campaign. So it's all word of mouth. Also, what are your thoughts on the Foundation series on Apple? I enjoy how you pronounce my name, Fernando Barrero. I love the roll the R's. It's great. Like, yeah. By the way, your name is just fun to say, Fernando Barrero. No, I love the Foundation. I'm not sure where they're going after the end of the second episode, but they certainly have spared no expense for the Foundation show. It's just stunning. I'm very curious to see where it all goes. I mean, I'm I'm down, man. I think the Fernando trilogy by Isaac Asimov. No, I loved Foundation, the first 2 episodes. I can't wait to see where it goes. World building is amazing. I'm very excited. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Anthony Gonzalez says, our friend Anthony, how you doing, buddy, by the way? Verisimilitude to me would be after the Empire was toppled, some former Imperial officers would have been integrated into the new Republic and they would have given information on the coming First Order. But no, JJ has zero imagination. Anthony, I think you've hit on the head what I can't stand so much about modern, what goes on with Doctor Who, what goes on with Star Trek, and what goes on with Star Wars a lot of the time. And it's really annoying. And that is, where is the imagination that these people as writers are supposed to have? And when I say imagination, I'm like, you need to extrapolate. You need to make me believe. Part of verisimilitude is like, okay, you need to make me believe that after Return of the Jedi and after the three movies of struggle with the rebellion struggling to topple the Empire, once it happens, where does the First Order even come from? I mean, I don't tell me, Rob, it's in the books. I don't care about the books. It doesn't work. It's not a transmedia property, even though it's sort of become one. I don't want the narrative that I'm following, the 9 Skywalker films, to... It doesn't... Even the prequel trilogy, if you don't like the story, the way the story is told, and like I've said, they're not good movies, but they're not good movies, but they're good Star Wars. The story that's being told about the Republic being toppled from within by the Phantom Menace is really interesting, but it's just not well executed. George, and I blame George Lucas. He was moved out of the realm of real people for so long that I think human interaction was something that eluded him, and that's why we get it very. And plus, the way he was shooting digitally left the actors really adrift, and the human interaction stilted. And also, he was taking things from one take and digitally combining them with another, and it was just... Anyway, I just think that the imagination is we're watching these movies, and it's all what I like to call cutscene storytelling. And the richness of how all of these things happen. I mean, one thing with Star Wars is we want to know where everything came from. How did this happen? How did it happen? Where did the First Order come from? And by the way, I didn't believe the First Order. I didn't believe that the First Order could build Starkiller Base right underneath, within striking distance of the heart of the Republic. I don't believe that. What kind of a construction project is that? I mean, in real life, if they were really going to build Starkiller Base, it's like, come on, man. That had to be the biggest construction project since the Death Star 2, and no one knew about it. I mean, you couldn't have kept that a secret unless you had like a small army of droids from Geonosis building it. It just didn't make any sense. I just didn't believe it. And when I'm watching it, I'm like, you didn't make me believe. And if you don't make me believe in these things, then I'm an easy lay, man. You give me a few good whispers in my ear, and I'll spread my legs for you. Come on now. But they didn't do that in these movies, and I didn't believe anything about them. I didn't believe anything. I didn't believe anything in the sequel trilogy. I didn't believe the situations. I didn't believe the characters. I didn't believe the fact that you'd have these giant dreadnoughts being built. What shipyard's building those? Why are they being allowed to be built? Makes no sense. Oh, Rob, they're in the Outer Rim. What, the Republic is stupid enough to allow this to happen over the course of 30 years? Hated it. So I'm with you, Anthony. I am with you. Where are we at now? Scatter for Brains sends in a tip and says, hey, Rob, I think I know what your answer will be, but which IP do you think is in worse shape, Star Trek or Star Wars? By far, Star Trek. Star Wars, you got The Mandalorian, you got the Book of Boba Fett, you got the Cassian Andor series, you've got Ahsoka. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be interesting, that's going to keep the franchise going for a long time. I think Star Wars is in a far better state than Star Trek is in, because Star Trek is what's going on with Star Trek is these new shows are all prequels, and they've destroyed Spock. I'm sure Strange New Worlds will get around to destroying Kirk. They'll destroy Uhura, Dr. Mbenga, Christine Chapel. They're going back and like it's very offensive to me that they're going back and they're reinventing these classic characters. that these classic characters were able to grow old within the confines of pop culture, and these people they have no connection to creating these characters. I mean, even during the Berman era of Star Trek, if you're going to bring back Sarek, you bring back Mark Lenard, and he passes away. Mark Lenard played Sarek and also was part of Star Trek since the first season as the Romulan commander. He played Sarek for the first time in the second season, and he grew old and he died in the role. So then they go back and they recast Sarek for the Kelvin movies. They recast Sarek for Discovery. You keep mining Spock's parents. Why are you doing this? First of all, it's not Spock. No one has been able to come close to playing Spock the way Leonard Nimoy played Spock, but I hate it. I just hate it. To me, it's a monumental lack of creativity. And one of the interesting things about the Berman era, the Berman era of Star Trek, that means Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, and Enterprise, still shared DNA with Gene Roddenberry. Yeah, he was not in the best of health as Next Generation moved on, but it still came from there, and Berman believed that he was upholding what Gene Roddenberry wanted. There's none of that now. Star Trek is being systematically changed and altered. Go back and the thing about Star Trek was create new characters and new stories, and it would be far more interesting. But I don't even think if they did that, it would be any good, because just they don't know what to do. Willow says, do you also prefer European actors play characters from their specific countries? Example, only British actors for Bond. My mom saw me watching Casablanca once and said, without knowing it was Ingrid Bergman, that the female lead looks Swedish. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I do think that's kind of one of the... what I like... Look, I knew that Mads Mikkelsen is from Denmark. I love seeing actors from... Now, I don't think Le Chiffre is supposed to be Danish in Casino Royale, or that Hannibal Lecter necessarily was supposed to be Danish, but I do like actors from different countries. They don't necessarily have to play who they're supposed to be, because some people were born in France and might have been raised in Italy. I don't know. But I do like seeing European actors playing Europeans, because I like all that. I like the flavors of our planet. And I like seeing people from all over the place come in, and I think they add something. Like in Sex Education, one of the characters' families, he's from Nigeria. And in the third season, he goes to Nigeria. And I like that he looks like he's from Nigeria, and he has a mannerisms that make me believe that he's from a Nigerian family, and they leaned into that. And I like that. I thought that was cool. The lovely sends me a super chat sticker, I believe. Insamatic 101 sends in a super chat sticker. Thank you very much. Kevin sends a super chat in and said, who's your favorite Bond villain? Personally, I'd have to go with 006. The final showdown in GoldenEye mixed with that score is one epic conclusion. I agree with that. I mean, I think somebody asked me the other day, I was doing an Inglourious Treksperts podcast, and we were talking about it. It's not a great movie, and he's not served well in it. But I think my favorite Bond villain is Francisco Scaramanga from Christopher Lee from The Man with the Golden Gun. I love that villain, and I think he's great. Although I do like Largo in Thunderball. But a lot of the Bond villains can't go mano a mano. They can't fight with Bond. They're different. Emma Bannon, the lovely Emma Bannon, says, "Don't worry, Rob. I'll tell you all the spoilers tomorrow, whether you want me to or not." Boop. No, you won't. Defriend. No, I'll always love you. Terrier Tiberius Mork, all the way from Norway, says, "I love Skyfall. So many throwbacks, it tickles me. And I saw it with you, douchebag. Top 5 things wrong with Skyfall? Well, Bond fails." Yes, Terrier and Julie came down from Norway to see Skyfall with me in 2012 when I went and saw it at the Odeon Cinema in Leicester Square. My big problems with Skyfall are, 1, Bond he fails throughout the entire film. And 2, the character of Silva is too Machiavellian. I just don't believe that Silva would know everything he knows. His operatives, he's able to do a lot of stuff. They made him too much like the Joker. And I have a real hard time that once he's out of his element and is taken to London, that he is able to do the things that he does in such a short amount of time. I just don't buy it. I don't buy it. It seemed a bit nonsensical to me. And those are my biggest problems with Skyfall. So, Rhett Proctor sends in a super chat. Hello, Rhett. How you doing? Hi, Rob. I'm usually not one for DC CW shows, but I started Stargirl, and I love that Luke Wilson is back in a big role. Yes. And did you hear that John Wesley Shipp is playing Jay Garrick in an old school JSA episode next week? I did. And I love, look, John Wesley Shipp, I love that they bring him back. I love that Jay Garrick is going to be in his old episode. I think that's awesome. For those of you who don't know, John Wesley Shipp played the Flash in the 90s Flash show. And I thought he was great. I thought he was great as the Flash. I really did. Kevin sends in a super chat and says, one of two, you're given the opportunity to direct one Bond film. Who's your Bond? Has to be a new actor. And who are you picking as the Bond girl? Well, I mean, to me, if I had to pick an actor, I'd probably go with either Henry Cavill as Bond or Richard Madden as Bond. One of the two. I think Tom Hardy, people talk about Tom Hardy as being Bond. I see him too much. He's more, I don't know. He's not the first person that I would think of. Richard Madden to me, Rob Stark, or if watch him on Bodyguard, or Henry Cavill would be my first choices for Bond. Those would be the first picks that I would go, especially Henry Cavill after coming off of Mission Impossible. I think he's got a great physicality to him. He's a big, beefy guy. He can bulk up and be really. Let me look at him as Superman, or look at him in Fallout. And as far as a Bond girl, I don't know. I'd probably want to find a somebody that we don't know. I'd love to find a breakout star from a foreign European country or Asian country. Somebody that I don't know yet. Somebody that would be defined. Oh, hang on. I think Kevin goes on one or two. He goes on to say, and what sort of changes or personal flavors are you adding into the fold that you feel haven't been adequately shown in recent Bond films? Well, I'll tell you something. If I made a Bond movie, I think at this point, I would bring it back to the more larger-than-life. The Daniel Craig Bonds have been very down-to-earth, comparatively speaking. I think what we need is, and having not seen No Time to Die, it looks like Safin is more of a megalomaniac Bond that has the world is at stake. I would push it a little further back into the fantasy realm, maybe a cross between Spy Who Loved Me and Thunderball, something that's big, where you have somebody that's literally threatening the world with all kinds of annihilation of some kind, and make it larger than life, so you could push it more. I think the Daniel Craig films could have been given a little bit more of that, so we'll see. I would hope so. At any rate, that's kind of what I want. I think we need a Bond where we push it more into the fantasy realm again, as opposed to being as serious as the Craig films are, as down to earth. Ethan Holgate says, hi, Rob. I saw that Unbreakable is getting a 4K release. Does this mean other movies like The Rock and Armageddon will get a 4K, eventually, considering they're touchstone movies? Not sure how that works. Also seeing No Time to Die this Friday with my dad. Can't wait. Well, Ethan, I'm jelly. Can't see it here yet. They might. I mean, I could see The Rock and Armageddon. I could see Michael Bay's movies getting 4K releases. They're going to be getting more and more of those. And like you said, they're touchstone movies. So I think that's probably a good bet. But yeah, I mean, the more 4K, as I've said, I think 4K is the format that physical media goes to die. So we shall see. Looking forward to it. I mean, I'd get all three of those. I get The Rock and Armageddon and Unbreakable on 4K. As a matter of fact, of all those movies, Unbreakable would be the one I'd be least interested in getting, because I think 4K would serve. I'm a huge Armageddon fan. It's a total guilty pleasure, but it'd be kick ass on 4K. So would The Rock. Justin Toner says, "Hi, Rob. At first, I was skeptical at the news of the reboot of Babylon 5 announced for the CW, but I saw J. Michael Straczynski's Twitter thread where he explained why this is a reboot and his plans for it, especially not redoing the same stuff as before. I'll give it a chance." Yeah, I mean, how many times do you have a creator coming back and rebooting it? I mean, I don't care about what network it's on. Depends if the CW's in. I mean, obviously they want to do it. They do a show like Altman's Pandora. And I think working with J. Michael Straczynski, they might come up with a prestige show. It could be something really, really good. So we'll see. I think it could be great. I mean, I don't know what they're going to do it, how they're going to do it. Again, we'll have to see. But I'm excited. I mean, to get Straczynski to come back and do it, who better? I hope that he's able to do. I mean, will the CW give him 5 years and commit? It'd be really frustrating to start a Babylon 5 reboot and halfway through the first season it gets canned because no one's watching it because it's not your typical CW fare. I hope that isn't the case. The Funkalicious Zephyr Chan, how are you? I've missed our talks. Zephyr Chan says, since 888 is a most auspicious number in Chinese culture, how do you feel about featuring Willow, Jeffrey Mao, and me on an episode on episode 888 of Robservations? Hey, I'd pencil you in. I love the chairman. I love Willow. I don't know if Willow would come on, but that would be great. It'd be cooler if you guys all did an episode in Chinese. I'd be totally down for that. Full-on Chinese episode of Robservations. You guys talk amongst yourselves. That'd be pretty amazing. Insematic 101 sends in a super chat and says, the problem, like you said, with modern-day writers they aren't thespians. They never grew up reading Shakespeare or Homer with the Iliad or the Odyssey. They grew up with TV. Anyway, keep it up, bro. Well, Insematic, I think that's a huge problem. If you're writing science fiction stories and you haven't read a lot of canonical science fiction, what do you know about the genre? Science fiction's a literary genre, and you need a literary background to write great science fiction. If you've only ever watched movies or television, you're scratching the surface. You're not there. And I mean, look, man, there's like 10 books you have to read. One of them's got to be like Neil Stephenson's books, whether it's Snow Crash or Anthem or Seven Eves or whatever. Pick your books. Read Dune. Read Stranger in a Strange Land. Read Hyperion. Read The Left Hand of Darkness, Ursula Le Guin. There's just Google what are the 25 best classic science fiction novels. Read those, and then go back and write your show. That would be something to learn from. I mean, man, you watch Star Trek Discovery and you're like, man, has anyone even watched Star Trek? I don't know. Ooh, Latoya T sends in a super chat. Now, a new friend of mine who's been on the show, Lael, is, I believe, marrying Latoya T. Now, Lael's been holding out on us because he posted a picture of himself and his fiancée, Latoya T. Latoya T is like movie star quality beautiful. Like she should be in films. I mean, she's like classical beauty. So good on you, Lael, and you too, Latoya, because Lael seems like a great guy. But thanks for supporting the channel. I appreciate that. Now I got to know how you guys met. Got to know the story. Stubble McShave. Hello, Stubble. How are you? Maybe it's just me, but I have a maybe it's just me, but I've had a hard time to see someone with a strong Texas or Boston accent in a fantasy film or future sci-fi movie. And I don't know why accents work better for me. Do you agree? And in that case, why is that? Ooh, I have a theory about that, Stubble. Like, for instance, look, there's a kind of a British accent. Like, why do you think Grand Moff Tarkin was so great? Because he had a British accent. But he spoke like a Shakespearean actor. And I think that if you're going to speak English, you speak like a Shakespearean actor speaks, because that seems proper English. Like, the English language was designed to be spoken like British thespians are going to speak it. Now, if you're going to have some, like, regional accent with the same, like, regional British accents, they don't work. Just like Boston accents or New York or in the Amityville, or Amity Island, because they seem like, in a way, I don't want to call them bastardizations, but they seem like lesser versions. Should I say lesser? I mean, regional accents are kind of they're almost a twisted version of their original languages. So, and you have regional accents everywhere. If you're speaking Mandarin and Chinese, how many dialects are there? Probably, I can't even count them. But what you want is proper Oxford educated, English. I think that's what would endure. Although, if you look at Blade Runner and you think about city speak, which is a mishmash of different languages, I think that would happen too. But I think for movies and things, in the future, language, what kind of language will endure? Boston accents or New York accents are regional, but when you start moving away from those places, I think that they just wouldn't be as prominent. They wouldn't last. But I think it's hard. You can't, if you hear a Boston accent in space, or like Harvey Keitel in The Last Temptation of Christ, it's a little weird. Tom Jr. Jackson says, my Kino Lorber collection keeps growing. Rumor has it that To Live and Die in L.A. is coming to 4K from Kino Lorber. I know. Ooh, Mark Altman has written back. Now, Mark Altman was seeing No Time to Die. Now, his opinion, he wrote a book called Nobody Does It Better on the James Bond franchise. Let's hear. Oh, wait. What? Uh-oh. Mark says, it broke my heart, Fredo. Oh, that's not good. That's not good. Mark and I have the same taste in Bond movies. It broke my heart. It's not good. Not good. We'll have to see. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I'm deflated now. Magic K says, you know what's more bonkers? Tom Holland as the next James Bond with Timothy Dalton, a Timothy Dalton-esque crazy script. Tom Holland is the next James Bond. Well, he's the star of Uncharted, so he doesn't get to be James Bond. He doesn't get to be James Bond. Christian Crow, I hope I got it right. Hi, Rob. Huge fan from Denmark, and I love your energy. Well, thank you. I'm a huge fan of Denmark. I spent 2 weeks there and loved it. Was wondering, over or under 50% they might kill James Bond in No Time to Die. Well, I've always thought that James Bond will die in No Time to Die. I think that's kind of the point of it. I think he's going to die. I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out in some spoiler in the next hour or two, but because it is at the end of his life, and if they reboot Bond, it'll be before that. He'll be an active agent. So, yeah. First of all, let's see if Mark writes me anything back. Nope, he hasn't written anything back. But we shall see. Ooh, I don't know. Well, anyway, I am going to be jumping on a stream. Oh, wait. Oh, boy. Okay, Mark Altman says, let's discuss it once you've seen it. First Trek, now Bond. It's depressing. They doubled down on Spectre and thought they were making on Her Majesty's Secret Service, but they ended up just doing Spectre 2. That's not good. That's not good. Well, I think I know what that means. What a bummer. Anyway, on that sad note, in a half an hour, I'm going to be jumping on Justin's channel, Justin's collection. I don't know who I'm on tonight. Maybe I'll be on with Lael, and I can tell him in person what a lucky man he is to have the ultimate action figure in his life. So join us over on Justin's Collection on YouTube at 5 o'clock, where I will be with the fellas talking action figures. And on that note, folks, I think I'm going to bring Robservations episode number 745 to a close. I want to thank my moderators for being here. I want to thank Gregory Smith. Hello, Greg. How's it going? I want to thank the lovely Purple Valkyrie and the lovely Louise X Sparrow. Thank you for both being here. Justin Toner for being here. Who else is here? I don't know. But thanks all for being here. Thanks all the Blue Wrenches. I love you all. I want to thank you all for supporting the channel via Super Chats and tips. And also, if you want to write me letters, you can at the Burnettwork.net website. Send me a letter, and I'll read it. And, of course, tomorrow I am on Hot Toys with Az, where I don't know if he has received from Martino Simoni his Playmobil Enterprise. I don't have it yet, but I should probably go get it and bring it in here so on Justin's channel I can show it and have it and put it together. So, anyway, on that note, remember, every person you meet has a story to tell that you have yet to hear. And all you have to do is listen. And with that, I would say, have a better day. And join us on Justin's channel or Justin's Collection in a half an hour.